Om Tavakatamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvignantiye Bhurita Janaha. Thy words of immortality, full of divine glories, they're praised by sages, the auspicious to hear. They destroy the threefold miseries of life and also the sins. Those who accept and spread thy message are the greatest benefactors, O Lord. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we are on page 112, last couple of lines. So here we have Sri Ramakrishna, who in the previous paragraph spoke about some are born with the characteristics of yoga. It also implies there are some who are born with the characteristics of bhakti or jnana or karma. I mean, this is for the spiritually inclined. People are born with hundreds of, you can say, tendencies with characteristics. Some go this side, some go that side, and we wonder, what is this kind of diversity that is? Who's responsible for this diversity? There are no two things similar. So he speaks about yoga and the yogis. And he says, perhaps due to some obstruction, some desires, this yogi does not attain the end, the fulfillment of yoga. He has to come back. We all come back. There are some who come back for yoga. There are some who come back for something else. So he says, after fulfilling the desire, they direct their minds to God and thus recover their former state of mind for the practice of yoga. Even Arjuna, he asks Krishna, what happens to this guy, the yogi who's been practicing yoga, and he fails to attain the goal of yoga? What happens is he rent like a cloud by a strong breeze. So, and then there's a long discussion on, oh no, nothing like that. He goes, enjoys the fruit of yoga in a subtle world, returns in the homes, is born, reborn in the homes of Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, in the homes of pious people, and also where there is adequate wealth. Or you say, Atva Yoginam Eva, or he is born in the family of yogis. And there, the memory of his past practices, they come. And then that yogi is impelled by that past. So Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta, so that the word used is Yoga Brashta. One was fallen from yoga. And then Shabda Brahmati Vartate, that person, he attains the state of, after a little practice, he attains the state of the Saguna Brahman, Shabda Brahman, the Brahman that is all pervading. So this Sri Ramakrishna's words tally with the scriptures. So then, as always, Sri Ramakrishna will always give you a teaching and an illustration in his homely language, And so he said, have you seen the spring trap for fish called a satkakal? M. No, sir, I haven't seen it. Master, they use it in our part of the country, that is Kamarpukur. That they used to say, like in Amadir Deshe, in our part of the country. It's one country only, but so in Kamarpukur, one end of a bamboo pole is fastened in the ground, and the other part is bent over with a catch. So it's bent and with a catch. From this end, a line with a hook hangs over the water with a bait tied to the hook. When the fish swallows the bait, suddenly the bamboo jumps up and regains upright position. So it snaps open the catch, the bamboo snaps again back to its original straight and tall, and the fish is also pulled up. That's a nice one. Those things, I believe, at least I have not seen it anymore used. They've got better fishing rods now. But the fishing rod needs your presence. You've got to stand there. Sit down now. This can be placed and can do something else. So that's why it's saying here, when the mind of a yogi who is deflected from yoga is kind of bent and then is caught with something and then it snaps back, the yogi returns. And this is what has been constantly being discussed, that nothing is lost in the world. Nothing. Every effort that you put is something that you lay up, store up for you. It's going to come back to you. If you're doing the good things, you're going to get good things. And if you have done something, then you take that. Nothing goes waste. And that is, as they say, the justice system that we have here. To come back to the topic, again, it gives another illustration, a parable. Take a pair of scales, for example, not the electronic ones, but the old ones. If a weight is placed on one side, the lower needle moves away from the upper one, and the lower needle is the mind, and the upper one God. The meeting of both is yoga. So you have the mind in one scale and God. So when you have plenty of things to work out, desire and achieve and do all this, it weighs the mind down. And then up goes God. Where's God? God is in the skies, in the heavens somewhere. That's a notion meant for kindergarten. In the beginning, God is somewhere in the sky. So this is what happens. So when both the mind and your striving for God equally balanced, then is yoga. It's a beautiful illustration. It becomes clear. Saying, yeah, the mind is weighed down. And Sri Ramakrishna says, the mind in the lower three, you can say chakras or centers of the body, is generally there. And so at that level, we see this world as it is. This world appears to us on this level of consciousness. The mind is down there, held up there. When the mind comes to the heart, your perception of the world gets transformed. You enter into the subtle realms. This world will not appear as you have seen it or you have a memory of it. It's different. And then as the mind rises higher, again, there are levels of consciousness that one encounters. And so again, your perception changes. Perception of the world and perception of yourself. Like Swami Vivekananda says, layers after layers of the mind open. So this is what happens. So when the mind is down, held below down, we see this world as it is. So as it keeps on moving higher and higher and higher, then it's balanced. That is yoga. As we have been talking about yoga, what is yoga? It is used in two senses. One, in the sense of to yoke, to join. The word yoke itself has come from that old Indo-Aryan root of yog, yuj. And the other is concentration. Perfect concentration is called yoga. When everything else disappears, when the mind gravitates to one object, everything else goes away. So that is yoga. And there are various types of yoga. So Sri Ramakrishna has said, there's a Raj Yoga, there's a Jnana Yoga, there's a Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. There are all types of Mantra Yoga, Laya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Kundalini, all these things. They become like fashionable nowadays. So we have this idea that it's yoga. And this yoga is what is actually one's own nature. Yes, you've got to acquire yoga. It's said in that way, but yoga is inherent in every being which has an internal instrument. It's called antakaran, where consciousness can reflect on itself. So in that, you can say receptacle, the inner receptacle, yoga is possible, and we have the potential, we have the capacity. It's only the question of directing your mind to one object, a spiritual object, of course, and letting go of every other thing. He gives another illustration. Unless the mind becomes steady, there cannot be yoga. That is, of course, everybody knows. You close your eyes and the mind is just restless. It's turbulent. It's strong. Controlling it, it's like controlling the wind, Arjuna tells Krishna. He's saying, this yoga that you're teaching me, controlling the mind is controlling the wind. It's turbulent, strong, not amenable to any form of control, and you're asking me. Saying it's true, but it can be controlled through practice and detachment, abhyasa and vairagya. And this also is mentioned in the scriptures of yoga, in Patanjali's yoga aphorisms. So yavidit. So to practice. So when the nature of the mind is restlessness. Okay. If the mind is calm, it means two things. Perfect calmness, where there is no wave at all. That is, you have fallen asleep, deep sleep. There are all those restlessness has all gone away. No problem. Or you are in the state of yoga. So now you decide. That people sit down and they come and say, after an hour, Swami, I had a very good meditation. Good. Keep on practicing. Yeah. So we see them, okay, they're nicely, they've fallen asleep, and people are so stressed. And when they get a little dozing time off, they are kind of so happy. So you have to be careful on which side you go, this side or this side. So unless the mind becomes steady, there cannot be yoga. It is a wind of worldliness that always disturbs the mind, which can be likened to a candle flame, if that flame doesn't move at all, then one is said to have attained yoga. That is what it is. It's an illustration over and over used in the scriptures. Yata deepo nivataste nengate somapasmita. So the illustration is given is saying yoga is like a flame of a lamp which is kept in a windless place, which does not move. No ingate, it does not move at all. So what happens when the mind becomes still, perfectly still? Now, above, the conscious mind may be still, but there are those lurking old memories, millions and billions and trillions, so there are all those memories. So those are trying to kind of break this. But that also, to the practice of yoga, those also have been quelled for a while. So now you have something called a perfect concentration. And in that state, your consciousness expands. That's another paradox we find. The more concentrated your mind becomes, the more your consciousness expands. Consciousness and mind are two different entities. The mistake that most people do is, mind is consciousness. So if there's a mind, there is consciousness. And if there is no mind, there is no consciousness. That is according to Western scientific, you can say, neurology or whatever, physiology, whatever, even psychology, whatever you call it. But in the yoga scriptures, there are innumerable levels where the consciousness has become completely separate from the mind. It has nothing to do with the mind, actually. It has come through association, to be associated with that. And that the cause of that association is ignorance. So that is what identifies consciousness with the mind. Okay. So this is what he's saying. So at that stage, consciousness keeps on expanding. So remember, we have used in our previous, you can say, classes on yoga, that we used the flame of a candle. It is helpful also not only as an illustration to make you understand the steadiness of the mind, but also as an object for meditation. You can use the flame of a candle for meditation. Now, if you can't, you can say, visualize it. You can have a real candle flame kept at a distance of about arm's length and at eye level, and watch that. That also we have illustrated it in our previous classes. So he says, lust and greed alone is the obstacle to yoga. So now here it is. Now lust and greed alone. Always analyze what you see. What is there in the body? Only such things as blood and flesh and fat, entrails and the like. Why should you love your body so much? And that is what, everybody loves the body. I love you. I love the body. And then a little after something, I love the personality. But then there are always personality clashes. There are different bodies within you. There is a subtle body, there is a causal body, and behind all this is that individual soul. So it's beyond all bodies. Or in Vedanta, we say there are 5 coverings. The food sheath, it's a food covering, Annamaya Kosh. Then the life force, the vital force sheath, the Pranamaya Kosh. Then is the mind sheath, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya Kosh. Then we have the 4th is the intelligence covering, intelligence sheath, Vijnanamaya Kosh. And then we have another one, Anandamaya Kosh, the covering of bliss. So we have 5 coverings. So you got to peel the one by one. Only to stay at the lowest extremity of your existence is no existence at all. So you don't even go out there. You're not even aware of the other, you can say, dimensions within you. So that's why now he says, sometimes, now he's giving you an illustration what he did in order to practice all these things. Sometimes I used to assume a rajasic mood in order to practice renunciation. Rajasic means a kind of a energetic form of, you can say, practice. Once I had a desire to put on a gold embroidered robe, wear a ring on my finger, and smoke a hubble bubble with a long pipe. Hubble bubble is a hookah. Mathur Babu procured all these things for me. I wore the gold embroidered robe and said to myself after a while, mind, this is what is called a gold embroidered robe. Then I took it off and threw it away. I couldn't stand the robe anymore. Again I said to myself, mind, this is a shawl, and this is a ring, and this smoking a hubble bubble with a long pipe. I threw those things away once for all. And the desire to enjoy them never arose in my mind again. Unlike us. We'll throw it up, pick it up later. We will need it later. And we become like, collecting all these things all around us. We're not aware of it. But then, oh, I got something there. Go and pick it up. At that stage, the rajasic mode is a kind of a heroic mode. People need to have this kind of characteristics when they are practicing meditation, japa, whatever. Sitting down, your mind is restless, and so Swami, it's difficult. Your mind is very restless. Are you a baby? You're going to complaining, mind is restless. Come on, show me what you have. Oh, no, I can't do that. You've got to be heroic. You've got to stand your ground. You've got to fight. And only then you will see the power building up within. You don't even know the power that you have. Swami Vivekananda says, all the powers that are there within you, you have it there. Make your own future. So this is the heroic attitude. A kind of, lazy, sloppy, you can say, laissez-faire attitude. Oh, let it be. No. If you are going to attain something which is extremely precious, which is the only thing worth attaining in this world and life, you've got to be up and doing, and you've got to show your strength. And as I said, the strength is there in everybody. A person who becomes a defeatist at the very beginning, it's very difficult for that person to proceed. So if I fall 100 times, I'm going to get up 100 times. If I fall 1,000 times, I'm going to get up 1,000 times. One day, I'm going to get up and not fall. That's what the whole thing is. And then you see that you can say, then this kind of attitude, oh, forget the whole thing. What's that? What's that to me? So when we were young, a few coins also are a big thing. And then as we have grown up, that small coins means nothing. Now we want big coins. So when your mind is small, your problems become big. And when your mind becomes big, your problems become small. This is what is lacking in today's world, that you've got to expand yourself. You've got to be heroic, you've got to struggle in whatever. It's not only yoga, field of yoga only, no. You've got to be heroic in every department of life. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying, So it was, he's saying, the desire to enjoy them never rose in my mind again. Yeah. So that thing has now been discarded once and for all. It was almost dusk. The master and M stood talking alone near the door of the southeast veranda. That means of his room. The southeast veranda of his room. The mind of a yogi is always fixed on God. Here it is. Now he giving you the indications of yoga and yogi, etc. Always absorbed in the self. It's called Atma Rama Atma Rati. What is that Atman? So small. Somewhere deep down is there, that small thing. There are some philosophies that are saying, Anu. Atman, the Jivatman is like the small. And there are some philosophies, the Vedanta is saying it's Vibhu, it's expansive. And there are some philosophies that say it is beyond the small and beyond the vast. No Raniyan Mahato Mahiyan. It is smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest. This is what the Upanishad says. This is the Atman. And this is what the yogi fixes the mind upon. You can recognize such a man by merely looking at him. His eyes are wide open with an aimless look, like the eyes of a mother bird hatching her eggs. The entire mind is fixed on the eggs, and there's a vacant look in her eyes. Can you show me a picture like that? He says, M. I shall try to get one. So, and we all have seen, a bird sitting on the eggs to hatch them, and how they are there sitting down, but their look is directed within. The eyes are open, so they are half looking out, but mainly looking in. And you can notice that when we get distracted, suppose we are standing and talking with some friends, and suddenly a train of thought takes us away. Hey, come back, come back. Oh yeah, okay. Where did you go? I went to Antarctica and I came back. Oh, yeah. The mind has gone there, it's come back. So you get lost, you're in a train of thought that takes your attention away, and you are maybe watching a series or a movie or on television or something like that, and you're thinking of the work tomorrow. Oh my God. So what is happening is just kind of gibberish there out there, but you are thinking more of what's going to happen there tomorrow. So this is how the yogis, their eyes look. And you see what happens is, most of us, when we see objects, the mind is dragged out and held outside. And so what happens is we pay attention and, oh, that's it. And this attention outside is held. And that's the reason why the mind cannot plumb its own depths. But suppose you want to look within. You can take a mantra, or you take an image of a deity or something like that and fix it there. Fix your mind there. Internal attention is there inside. So in the practice of yoga, it's called a Vishnu yoga. It's recommended your eyes are half closed, not fully closed, like you have in the Shiva yoga. Shiva yoga, you completely close your eyes. In the Vishnu yoga, the Bhagavad Gita also says that your eyes need to be half closed. That will remove all the distractions, external distractions, and the mind is held out inside. So, there. As evening came on, the temple lights were lighted up. Temple was lighted up. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on his small couch, meditating on the Divine Mother. Then he chanted the names of God. Incense was burned in his room, where an oil lamp had been lighted. Sounds of conch shells and gongs came floating on the air as evening worship began in the temple of Kali. The light of the moon flooded all the quarters. So here, it's still, even today, if you go there, it's like that. But of course, now it's packed with people. A few 100,000 visit that temple every day, especially on a Tuesdays and a Saturdays, where it's a worship of the Divine Mother is extremely beneficial, fruitful. So incense was burned. Incense, when it is dusk in India, especially in Bengal, you burn that incense, the smoke smells nice. It drives away the mosquito. The mosquitoes don't like it. So it's okay. And the oil lamp has been lit, of course, and then in the evening, the moment is dusk, at least we have seen, and the lamp is lit, and the lamp is saluted. Even when we used to live in the cities, when they had to put the lights on in the evening, the lights had to be saluted. You say, what is that? Saluting a tube light? What's that? It's saluting light. Something like that. So, because light, as it's known, it represents that consciousness. So, it's always like that, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. So, in the villages and all over India, even today, of course, in cities is different. But the moment is dusk, people light the lamp, salute it, and then they start the puja. And it's a temple here, Kali's temple. Kali needs a lot of noise and gongs and conches and bang, bang, bang. Even today, if you go and see that, everybody is nicely, thoroughly banging those gongs and with all their force. The more noise, the better it is. So he's saying, Sri Ramakrishna says, he spoke to it, perform your duties in an unselfish spirit. The work that Vidyasagar is engaged in is very good. Always try to perform your duties without desiring any results. This is straight karma yoga. Vidyasagar, as we've seen in the last chapter, was a great philanthropist, a stalwart, a great pandit. He was engaged in helping people. You see, what happens is, when you become unselfish, you always try to help people. If you are selfish, you help yourself, always. So that's meant for that. So you are now, not confined only to your identity as a body. Can you really perform your duties in an unselfish spirit? Of course. We've seen it. Like mothers, they go to endless troubles to raise you up, and then they do it. There are some mothers who will expect, of course. The expectation is there. But when she's doing it very unselfishly. She puts herself after the babe or whatever. Or if the babe needs to be protected, she'll put herself in front. That's the one of, there are many examples, but here we have give one instance. M. Yes, sir. But may I know if one can realize God while performing one's duties? Yeah. Can Rama and desire coexist? The other day I read in a Hindi couplet, Jahan Ram hai, wahan kaam nahi. Jahan kaam hai, wahan Ram nahi. Where Rama is, there desire cannot be. Where desire is, there Rama cannot be. Here it is. So Rama and Kama, Kama and Rama. So wherever there is Kama, there is no Rama. There is a Rama, there is no Kama. So it's a very famous couplet. So Master, he is now giving you this solution to it. All, without exception, perform work. The scriptures say that it's just not possible to remain without work. nahi kashtit kshanamapi jato tishtatya karma. Nobody can even remain a moment without work. Either it's conscious work or subconscious work. It's like you are running your own systems. Your heart is beating and it's beating automatically. You are doing it. It's subconsciously. It's just your lungs are working, everything. That's subconscious work. And that is the, you can say, great gift of nature. Your conscious mind has become freed to think of higher things, not be bogged down by it. But suppose you have a pain in the heart, then oh my God, so I can, so you can start, you can keep on racing your heart, you can slow down your heart, and if you're putting the mind there. So he's saying all without exception perform work. There's nobody who is accepted from that. Even to chant the name and glories of God is work, as is meditation of the non-dualist on I am He, Soham. Even meditation, even japa. Breathing also is an activity. I was just talking about breathing also is an activity. There is no way of renouncing work altogether. So do your work, but surrender the result to God. This is the solution. Yeah, that is. So even meditation of a Advaitist, non-dualist is Advaitist. That I am that. What? People lay the emphasis on I am that. And they call themselves Advaitist or non-dualist. They are pseudo. That is important than the I. So I am that. No. So it's like a drop of water saying to the ocean, yeah, I'm greater than you. So the ocean laughs, oh, I see. Oh, good. Huh. So Soham. And this Soham is always there. Yogis use this mantra with their breath. When you breathe, when you inhale, Soham, you automatically repeat this. In fact, your mind, your deeper aspect of your mind is always there. I am that. Soham. It's the Sanskrit, because of the Sandhi rules, it's actually sa, that, aham. Because of that, the rules of Sandhi becomes soham. So I am that, I am that, I am that, I am that. How long? Now your breath is saying that same thing over and over, and every breath you take, you are repeating that I am that. That is a mantra which is now has become part of you. Your identity now has become shifted from the I to that. I am he, I am that, I am that. Okay. So this is the best way to make your individual consciousness into a universal consciousness. From here, I go here. So it's not going, because my individual consciousness, our individual consciousness, is embedded in the universal consciousness. So if we say, where's Seattle? Yeah, it is in the state of Washington. Where's the state of Washington? It's in the US. And where's the US? Oh, it's in North America. And where's North America? Oh, it's in the world. Yeah. So we generally tend to separate things for easy comprehension. It's a kind of makes sense for transactional, you can say, work. But we are embedded in a greater and greater and greater, wider reality, which we don't see all the time. It's only when you are brought notice, okay, it is that. So then you say, is it permissible to do, okay, the question, okay. Sir, may I make an effort to earn more money? So, yes, it is permissible, he said. Thank God. He's not, otherwise, he's already making things too hard for us. Permissible. But he said, to maintain a religious family, you may try to increase your income, but in an honest way. The goal of life is not earning money, but to serve God. Money is not harmful if it is devoted to the service of God. So here it is. And people have been doing that all over. They want to have money. And we see the people having money, and some are more lucky than others. So, the scriptures also say, those guys who have become so rich, they in their previous birth, they were very charitable. So there it is. So how you're going to get rich in the next birth? Start becoming charitable now. Become charitable. However, that's not the goal, of course. But you see, what happens is, as you start maturing, money is not so important to you. What is important now then is time, relationships, or actualizing a higher ideal. And all these things become more important to you. So that which was important, you're driving towards it. When you acquire it, it's okay, it's there. But you strive for higher things. And as Abraham Maslow in his hierarchy of needs, saying first the physiological needs, and then there's the security, and then there's the psychological needs, and then all these self-esteem and love and this and that, and final, what? It's the apex is called self-actualization. You must be able to actualize yourself. That is, you must know what you are, what are your strengths, what are your capabilities, what can you do. That's self-actualization. So that's what actually drives people. That the lowest needs, that food and security and all this thing, is just down. So as you proceed, so this is what happens. So with everybody, it happens like this. So this is, that's why Sri Ramakrishna said, for the Vedantist or non-dualist will say self-actualization is the self means not that your organic self or your psychological self, but the self is that, the Atman. You can actualize that Atman. So the word self has been, the word Atman has been translated as self. And this was started way back in the 18th century, especially by the German philosophers. They were the first ones who kind of took up the, you can say, study and the dissemination of the Upanishads. Because the first translation of the Upanishads was done by a great emperor, one of the greatest emperor's son. He was named Darashiko. If he would have become the emperor, the history of the world would have changed. Darashiko, he was very mystical, he was very religious and deeply philosophical. He had his elder brother called Aurangzeb. So he had Darashiko killed, fratricide. For the throne you can do anything. So, and that laid waste the whole of the subcontinent. He was killed. So Darashiko was the one who was responsible for translating the Upanishads from the ancient Sanskrit into Persian. This is somewhere in the 15th century. And from that Persian translation, we had a Latin translation. We don't know who did it, but it was translated in Latin. And these scholars in Europe got copies of this Latin translation. Some acknowledged it, some did not. That they got the ideas from there. So they translated the word Atman as a self. So we got a self. Okay. So that's self-actualization. I think we can stop here for questions before we can go. As you see, we're going to have on Friday the householder disciples, Girish Chandra Ghosh. He was a stalwart, and there was no one like him. He was the crazy one. But, and like, he had committed every sin under the sun and the moon and the stars. So, and yet he rose to be to great spiritual heights. Saturday we have a retreat at Arlington at a Tapovan center. And Saturday also is a very auspicious day because the start of the Navaratri, or the 9 days of the worship of goddess Durga. So it's called Mahalaya. So it starts on that day, on the 14th. It is also Swami Akhandananda's birthday. Akhandananda was Swami Vivekananda's brother disciple. Sunday, we have reincarnation, fact or fiction, at 10. We also have on Sunday the mother's children, the Sunday school for children, at the same time. But they go down to another room. So, okay. Okay, there are no questions, just statements here. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very, I don't know if it's a question. Basically, I'm very interested in this idea of the flame in a windless place. Like I read that the first translation of the Bhagavad Gita, and I kind of was thinking about it. Like for me, there's 3 ways that kind of like strong flame can be steady like that. It's like the wind is not blowing, right? Like it's just windless in general. You protect, like you created like a temple, like a shelter around the wind, or it's burning so strong that it's just, that it's not wavering. It's just like a huge flame. Like, does that make sense to think about in a spiritual way of like, how do you cultivate your spirit, or which way? Or
the question is for our online audience. A friend here, he read this illustration in the translation by Eknath Ishwaran, Bhagavad Gita. So this particular verse comes in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So that is the Dhyana Yoga, the yoga on meditation. So the one is, there is no wind, so the flame is steady. Okay. Another thing, it's protected, where the wind cannot disrupt the flame steadiness, so it's steady. And third is, the flame itself is so powerful, even a wind does not. That's not possible. First, the flame needs air, otherwise it's not going to combust. So it needs air. But the air is so subtle and it's not disturbing. In fact, is helping the flame. But what the illustration is saying, that the breeze of that restlessness, the restless mind, which is because of desires, that is what makes the flame move. So when you are meditating, your mind should become like a flame. Now, Sri Ramakrishna in one place, he says, okay, when you're meditating on the flame, okay, there are two illustrations, I'll come down to it. The outermost, you can say, layer of the flame is reddish, because for obvious reasons, it's outside, and there's a red shift in that spectrum. And the inner, it's yellow, it's going towards red, shifting towards it. And the hottest part of the flame is the blue one, in the blue spectrum, blue. And the wick is, you can see the wick is there. So he says the red part is the physical body, the yellow part is the subtle body, the blue part of the flame is your causal body, and that wick is that individual soul. You can meditate like that. Number one. Secondly, when you stare fixedly on a flame, external flame, it's called a trataka. And that's very effective for beginners. Not beginners, even for middling, you can say, aspirants. So you stare at it, and we have done this in our yoga classes. Close your eyes and see that flame as it is. The flame should not flicker. So that gives you a tremendous concentration. It's a practice of concentration. And this concentration can be applied in work and play and everywhere. So very, very, very strong. So after a while of constant staring, which is not recommended, of course. So when you're staring at it and then you turn your eyes or turn your face away, you will see everywhere flames. We have all experienced it, all flames. So when you are meditating on God fixedly, firmly, then you will see that God all over the place. Okay, the word, the verse is yata deepo, like a lamp, nivataste, where in a windless place, nivataste. No ingate, does not shake. Ingana does not move. Sa upama, this is a simile. Smrita. Yogino yata chittasya, of a yogi's mind. So it is not the flame outside. The flame symbolizes the yogi's mind inside. That is what is. Now people think, oh, it's like that. It's a flame. It's a lamp. That is the simile. The verse is very clear. It's a simile for the yogi's mind. And Madhusudan Saraswati, if you ever get a chance to read his great commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, which is an extension of Shankaracharya's commentary, massive. So he said this is the state of samadhi. So, only in the state of samadhi where the mind has become perfectly still. Because the yoga aphorisms say, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. What is yoga? When all the waves in the mind are stilled, that is called yoga. So what is yoga? It's a state. It's a state where the mind has stopped fluctuating at all. Okay. So much for today. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.